is rarely productive. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 3 of the Torah portion, Bamidbar in the wilderness. Let's go to chapter number 2. And begin with verse 1, which says, And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, The children of Israel are to camp, each one by his own banner, beside the sign of his father's house. Let them camp around the tent of appointment at a distance. And on the east side toward the sunrise, those of the camp of the banner of Yehudah according to their divisions. And then he proceeds from there to list who is to camp with Yehudah, where Reuben is to the south, and who is to camp with him. Ephraim is to camp on the west, and the tribes and peoples that are to camp with him. And finally, Dan in the north, and the tribes that are to be aligned with him. So Yah has a particular order. He has a particular design. It's not with a whim in mind. It's not just trying to keep people away from other people. He is aligning us in particular for a purpose. When we come to a place of order in our lives, and I'm not speaking as someone who has an overwhelming sense of order. I'm still working on that. I encourage you to do the same. But order gives an opportunity for wisdom and discernment to take place. It's rare that when we are in a system or a season of chaos, that we are hearing clearly enough to discern great strategic steps that we need to take. In a time of upheaval, disarray, trauma, tragedy, etc., that's normally not a wise time to go and make extreme life choices. Now, the death of a loved one who lived a pattern of faulty behavior, and you're engaged in the same, and you realize, I need to clean up my act, that may be the exception to that principle. But during a time where everything is out of order, upside down, inside out, the world's spinning crazy, it may not be the best time to change your entire world. That is because we are distracted, we're unfounded, we are ungrounded, we're shaking, we're not stable. We need a sense of order and stability in order to have a time to listen and keenly discern that still small voice. Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, in a time of being chased for his own life, found himself in a cave, a distant place. Eliyahu, Yah says, what are you doing here? You're out of place, son. You're not where you're supposed to be. Your calling's not over, and you're not the only one left. I still have a remnant, and you need to get back in the game. But he had to get away to a place to where he could be calm enough and quiet enough to hear that voice. So Yah wants you and I to know what our place is, to find that place, to get settled in that place, not stagnant, just settled, and then get about the business of doing what it is that he has called us to do. I've offered a challenge to my congregation, the House of David. Now may be a good time to introduce that to you. And that is to contemplate and ponder. Ask the Father, who is it that I'm supposed to be? Get a strong picture of who this person that you believe you are called to be, what that looks like. Write it down. Describe that individual. And then start asking the Father, now what are my strategic steps to get from where I am now to that kind of living, to that kind of personage, to that kind of power or ability or fruit bearing, or how you want to go about that, but actively engage in the pursuit of that. Otherwise, we will just vaguely dream about how he could be used someday, and that ability will never arrive. We have to be engaged in getting there. So once Israel was situated according to the Father's design, You had the tabernacle in the middle. To the east, at the entrance of the tabernacle, you had the tribe of Yehudah, the lion. To the south, you had Reuben, the man. On the west, you had Ephraim, the ox, and to the north, you had Dan, the eagle. Reading Ezekiel chapter number 1, you will see that the cherubim who form the very throne of Yah, these four creatures that are completely in sync with one another and move together, they each have one of these four identifying faces: a lion, a man, an ox, and an eagle. When you read the book of Revelation, you will find these same cherubim creatures there, and Yah is seated enthroned upon them. Most translations say they are seated around his throne rather than he is seated upon them. But Ezekiel gives the idea that he is enthroned upon them. So when Israel was properly aligned, they mirrored on the earth that which was the reality in the heavens. That is, they became the throne of Yah, and Yah became enthroned on the praises of his people Israel. When they moved through the wilderness in right fashion, correctly aligned, every man in his place, everyone knowing his calling and his situation, then Yah moved with them. No wonder then Balaam, the prophet, the false prophet, looked at them, and his only response was, Matavu ohalaka o Yaakov vamishkenateka o Israel. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, and your dwelling place, your tabernacle would be referenced here, O Israel. The man tried to curse them, but then confessed, I cannot curse those whom Elohim has blessed. Think about the Hebraic roots community at present. Matter of fact, you can think outside that box, and you can include the various denominations of Christianity, and even further still, the various sects and philosophies and divisions of Judaism. We are a divided, disorganized, chaotic mess. And in the middle of all of this intertribal warfare among ourselves, in these situations where people are failing to get along and understand one another, why are the Baptists against the Pentecostals and the Pentecostals against the Methodists, etc., etc.? It's because they don't understand each other. Everybody believes that everybody should have the same calling and the same tribal identity. But that's never, ever been the case in Yah's people. We always have had various philosophies and applications. And it's rightly understood that not all of us, not any of us, have a complete 100% claim to truth. We all have our part of it, and we need each other to teach each other so that we can get the whole of it. There, I said it. Balaam was not able to curse what Yah had blessed. Is it possible, and I know that it is, that in these last days, that Yah can so organize us that no curse can be found to be laid against us? Balaam wanted to curse Israel, but it wouldn't stick because they were in right order. And Yah had organized them, and the people knew who they were. We need to learn these lessons again. Yah is taking us through perilous times, wilderness-type settings, tumultuous, chaotic times, looking for a people that will get still and quiet and discern. Father, where do you want me? And how do you want me? And what do you want me to be doing? And how am I to please you and accomplish what it is that you have assigned to me? Give me my identity. Situate me. Settle me. Establish me. And grant me the power and the authority in your name to get done what honors and glorifies you. And no curse will be able to be laid against us. More tomorrow, and until then, shalom.